if you feel like this is only happening to you, that your problems, the kind of problems you're having are only happening to you, you're gonna feel lonely, and you're gonna blame, a lot of people end up blaming themselves for their problems. And that's a super dangerous place to go to. And that's where the self-compassion piece comes in. If you can learn to have compassion for yourself and empathy with other people, those feelings that I was just talking about, the I'm a piece of crap feelings and nothing can change, you'll start to, it's not like those feelings suddenly disappear, but you won't blame yourself for having them as much. If you can care for yourself in a way that you would a friend, you thought about your friend hurting and telling you that they were a piece of crap and stuff, someone you've known for a long time, telling you this kind of stuff, you'd tell them no way, right? You'd be like, what the
What
hell
the
are you
hell?
talking about, man? And the crazy thing is, I think if you can work on developing some self-compassion, you can be that friend, that supportive friend to yourself. You don't have to have the solutions to everything right away, but you can be the person that says, hey, it's all right, man. It's okay that you're feeling this way. Like, you're doing the best that you can. And I'm not one for like weird, list mantras or practices where there's sort of a three-step solution, but ironically, both developing self-compassion and sort of a good reminder that I've learned in the last few months both sort of involve three different components. Just little pieces that you can start with to help, recognizing what self-compassion feels like and start working on it if you're interested in that. If you're interested in not telling yourself you're a piece of crap, basically. So, yeah, I guess I wanted to break down some of the different steps or methods involved in how I kind of arrived at where I'm at now. I wouldn't say I'm like at the end of my journey when it comes to practicing this stuff and feeling strong on it, but I would say I've made huge progress, and I at least want to share what I feel like were some of the key realizations or parts to it in case it can be helpful. So one important part is self-kindness versus self-judgment. And that part is basically what I was talking about a little earlier. People are going to mess up, shit's not always going to work out how you want. You're going to make mistakes in life. People like Andrew Tate apparently never make mistakes, which is pretty sweet, but you either have to apologize for stuff, you learn from your experiences. Sometimes stuff is just completely random chance. It's not even your fault, but people can blame themselves for things that happen. My point is, when those things happen to you and bad things happen to you, even though you are the center of that event in your own life, there's no point in really flagellating and blaming yourself after the fact. Like, it's not gonna help you prevent that situation in the future. Learning from that will maybe thinking about it in a non-judgmental way, analyzing what happened will certainly improve your chances of things not happening in the future, but you can't control everything, and there's no point in beating yourself up endlessly when things like that happen and saying that you're the cause of it. The guilt part of that and the shame part of that is what is not helpful. Looking back and learning from things is helpful, but dwelling on them and blaming yourself for it as if you're a piece of crap just doesn't actually help you. It actually makes things a lot worse for you. It compounds over time until you really start to believe those things. So that's self-kindness versus self-judgment. If you can start to be aware of things when you do those, like when you do those things, when you blame yourself and say like, oh, I'm an idiot, or oh, I suck at, drawing, for example. Maybe like, oh man, like I'm a shitty friend. Like those kind of judgments don't actually do anything. Like you can think of it as like, I could be better at drawing. I don't have a lot of experience drawing, which is just like true. You have to practice something to get good at it. So rather than saying I'm shitty at drawing, which is like a negative label on yourself, have some self-kindness. Be aware that you've just labeled yourself with that shitty label, and think about a way to sort of reprocess it in a way that is less judgmental and more, I guess, just objective, leaves room for growth. So that's the first part, I would say. The second component of this self-compassion development thing would be kind of shared experiences through empathy. When they talk about developing self-compassion, they talk about a sense of common humanity. And what that is kind of what it sounds like. You're tapping into a network of, you're a human. You're part of a huge species of people who all have brains that operate, pretty similarly to yours. There's a lot of differences between people, but ultimately the experiences people have, there's a lot of overlap and room to communicate and relate to each other based on those shared experiences. And it's kind of like I said before, if you can like remind yourself that other people have things happen to them too, you might not be as quick to blame yourself when stuff happens to you, because what are you going to do? You're going to blame the other person? Let's say someone else comes to you and says like, oh, I got fired from my job recently. Let's say you just got fired from your job and someone comes up to you and goes like, oh, I just got fired from my job recently. Is your logical conclusion to be like, hey dude, you're probably a piece of crap also? Because I think I'm a piece of crap. That's why I got fired from my job. I know I'm a piece of crap, so you must have been a piece of crap too. Like, that seems kind of messed up, right? And that's exactly how you should feel about saying those kind of things to yourself as well. Tap into that common humanity. There's someone else out there who's facing a similar situation to yours. And you're certainly not going to be as quick to label them with some of the things that you've told yourself. So I don't know, even a way to practice that step, that common humanity step, is honestly just to talk to people, man. Just go and talk to people and listen to them. Ask them, what motivates them, what makes them scared, what do they want to change in their life, where, how's their relationship with their family, how do they feel about their job. Talk to people about those kind of things. Friends, even random strangers on the internet. I found it's pretty fun. Like, if you're in a group with someone in WoW, just ask a question like that in chat, and people usually are pretty happy to engage and start breaking down that barrier, because it provides them with the same experience. The third kind of component to this would be mindfulness versus over-identification. And what that is basically, it's tied to the first two things that we talked about, but it is sort of trying to develop sort of a neutral stance on viewing your own reactions and your emotions to stuff. So the goal is, of course, to help remove self-judgment, and develop self-compassion, right? So in this step, you're basically trying to build awareness of your feelings and emotions when they come up, and identify and notice them in a non-judgmental way. But just noticing things like, if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a bit anxious about work, like let's just say you feel like you didn't get enough rest this weekend in between working and going back to work the next week, and you're feeling stressed about it. A lot of people will just wake up, start making their coffee, and go through their morning routine and not really address the feeling that they're having. You don't have to sit down and have a whole therapy session about it or make a long ass YouTube rant about it, but you can just take a moment to be like, I feel anxious this morning. You're not saying, like what's wrong with me? I should have tried to rest more this weekend, and so I don't feel like this. Like last week I felt like this, and I said I wasn't gonna do it again. Like, those kind of things aren't helpful. Instead, just say, I'm feeling anxious this morning, and notice that. Maybe think about like how it feels in your body, Is my chest tight? Like, do I feel like my eyes are achy from not sleeping enough? Like, what's the deal? Like, what am I feeling right now? And you're just assessing and kind of like doing an internal almost scan without any kind of like conclusion or results. You are just like learning to build awareness of the feelings that you're having. Like, I've watched healthy gamer videos with Dr. K for a long time. I think they're just like a blessing for the gaming community, to be honest. And one of the first videos I saw of his was talking to someone, another streamer, and they were focusing on just becoming aware of your problems. On that show, they're not like trying to necessarily solve people's problems. All they're doing is sort of interviewing and bringing awareness to them. So in this case, if we want to develop self-compassion and stop sort of feeling as guilty and shameful about ourselves, we need to first feel, analyze, check out, recognize what's going on. And that's a lot easier than lumping it all onto the plate at once and saying, I'm going to develop self-compassion. You know, some days just wake up, note how you're feeling, maybe write it down, maybe even just think about it on a daily basis when you wake up. How am I feeling right now? Maybe once a week, maybe twice a week at work or online games. Ask someone what's going on in their life. Just be like, I don't know, anything exciting happened this year, you know, or like, who cooks? Questions I'll ask people are like, hey, like, who cooks the food in your household? Like, if you're in a relationship, which one of you does the cooking, and like, who likes cooking versus who doesn't? Those kind of things are just interesting to me. Go out and just ask people that kind of shit. You know, not like ambush someone on the street, obviously, but yeah, just common humanity. Go out and talk to people, and then also, as you're building awareness of what you're feeling, when you have shameful, shitty feelings, just try and notice that. Be like, man, would I say that to my friend if they were having this kind of problem? Because if you wouldn't, then reconsider whether you should say it to yourself or not, you know? And honestly, like, this can take a lot of time, but just start practicing this stuff, and I guarantee you will start to feel less bad. You'll start feeling less lonely. You're gonna start having more room within yourself to chill and explore your experience versus constantly beating yourself down and running from it. So I'm still on my journey, but I would love it to at least help people get started on theirs, or help them unblock themselves from where they're at on theirs. While life may change around you, circumstances and events may change, everyone is always doing their best. So when you mess up, try and be a little more forgiving to yourself, because you're doing the best you can, and so is everyone else. And I think that's okay. It feels nice to talk about it. Anyway, thank you for hanging out. Thanks for watching and for listening. We'll be back with more.